Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Mr. Buddy here, and I am super bad at doing introductions on these scriptless videos. This is about the 10th time I've tried to record this. I'm going crazy over here, but I'm just going to lay it out for you guys straight. Today I'm going to be starting a video series where I'm just going to talk about and give my thoughts on all of the Pokemon Generations episodes as they're released. I'm really excited for Pokemon Generations. Looks amazing. Everything I've ever wanted in an anime, well, almost, besides the length, but aside from that, I really love the concept and idea of Pokemon Generations, and I thought I would just sort of give my thoughts for them weekly as they're released. In case you don't know what Pokemon Generations is, go over to Pokemon's official YouTube channel, check them out. It's essentially a brand new anime series, but the episodes are 3 to 5 minutes in length and focus on more or less the games canon and world of Pokemon, and I think it's super awesome myself, think it's great. Go over and check those out before watching this, because this is really just going to be my thoughts on the episodes, and I will be going into spoilers. I mean, these things are 4 minutes long, there's no way to talk about them without going into spoilers. So, anyways, that's enough of that, enough of the intro. I'm sick of recording this. I'm probably not even going to keep this take, to be honest, but let's get started, and let's jump right in, and I will give my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Pokemon Generations. Alright, so let's slow things down a little bit. I had to go pretty fast in that intro, but now I can talk about, let's start with, I guess, the first episode of Pokemon Generations, The Adventure. So, I thought this episode was okay. I didn't think it was super great and amazing. I didn't think it was awful. I thought it was okay, maybe a little bit more towards the positive side. I really like this episode because it's more or less supposed to be kind of like a franchise retrospective in a strange way, because it shows... I love the beginning, by the way. I love it, how it starts with kind of like an old school Game Boy that somebody's playing and you're going through there and you get started. I think that's cool, and how it transitions into the actual animation part of it. I think it's awesome. So it starts with that. It starts with Red, who has a Bulbasaur, and I thought that was pretty crazy because usually Red's always been portrayed with a Charmander, so to see him have a Bulbasaur is pretty cool. Maybe it's a slight nod to Pokemon Adventures, one can only hope. I really doubt that's it though. But you see Red capture a Pikachu, and then the other 2 to 3 minutes of this episode is kind of them going through each region and just sort of, I don't know, just kind of showing off the different regions and kind of paying homage to the different games. And I thought it was pretty cool. We got to see Ecruteak City in Johto with a bunch of Wooper that Pikachu's attacking. We got to see the Weather Institute of Hoenn with a Vigoroth on the wooden bridge. We got to see Sinnoh's Snowpoint Temple with Regigigas and Probopass. And I've got to say, they made Probopass seem pretty freaking awesome. Like, I'm not a big fan of Probopass, but good gosh, this animation did him justice. The next thing we got to see was Generation 5, the Relic Castle. We got to see Red and Pikachu kind of exploring inside of it and falling in and encountering Volcarona. And last but not least, we got to see Red and Pikachu in, I believe it's Terminus Cave. I might be misremembering that, but it's the Terminus Cave from Kalos, and they got to encounter Zygarde in his, I think it's his complete form, his perfect form, something like that. I'm never sure on the names with Zygarde, but yeah, that's kind of a rough breakdown of the episode. I mean, there wasn't really any dialogue and not really any story. It was just kind of cool to see all these different regions and areas that we've all played through before, just see them pop up again, and really as kind of an introduction episode or a first episode to Pokemon Generations, I thought this was fine. I don't think this means Red will be the main protagonist. I've seen a lot of people worried that this might mean no other protagonists from the games will make an appearance. I don't really think that's the case. I think they just chose Red because he's sort of the starting character of the franchise, and if anything, hopefully we'll get to see Hilda and Hilbert in animated form. I don't know who I need to beg to make that happen, but please, Game Freak, Masuda, the Pokemon Company, I don't know who I need to beg to. Let me see them in just one generation short. That's all I ask for. Sorry, I'm getting way off topic. I want to see the Gen 5 protagonists in some animated form, because we haven't got to see them yet. But yeah, all in all, I thought this episode was, once again, I feel like I'm overusing the word okay, but yeah, it was alright. Just a quick thing I want to mention before we move on to episode 2. Pikachu. I've seen a lot of controversy on this version of Pikachu. Maybe controversy is too heavy of a word. I've seen a lot of discussion about this Pikachu, and I'm sort of mixed on it as well. I think the design is maybe a little bit different than what we're used to, because the design is more or less based on kind of the, I guess it's more or less the merchandise Pikachu that I've seen a lot on like Pokemon's website and stuff, where it has a really round and larger head and sort of a smaller body. And I think sometimes in the episode it works moderately well, and at other times it looks a little bit weird. I didn't think it was too bad. Pikachu's voice in this, though, is what I thought was a little bit more interesting, because they actually kind of strayed away from doing what the mainline anime with Ash does with Pikachu's voice, where Pikachu says Pika Pika and all that stuff and just says his name. They actually decided to go with a more mouse and animal sounding voice, and at first I thought it was kind of cool, kind of cute, a little bit different and interesting. I liked it, but as the episode went on, I kind of started to not like it a little bit. I thought it got a little bit grating, a little bit annoying, not enough to ruin the episode for me. I just felt like by the end, I just wasn't really a huge fan of it, but once again, it wasn't ruining. I didn't think it was awful. I didn't think it impacted the episode in any way. I just thought I'd bring that up, that I wasn't a huge fan of this Pikachu's voice, but really that's a small complaint, because I really thought everything else in the episode was pretty enjoyable. Seeing all these cool places, legendaries and stuff from all across the first 6 Pokemon generations. Alright, so let's switch over to episode 2 now, and I think I like this episode the most out of the 2 released. This episode focuses on Looker hunting down Giovanni, and oh my gosh, I love this episode. I think there's so many things that are interesting about it, and so much I like. If you're looking at this solely from like an action perspective, compared to the Adventure, episode 1, it doesn't really have as much action, but I think it just gives us a really interesting look into the Pokemon world. Because we actually get to see a little bit into Looker in, I guess it's the International Police, that's what he's part of. Which I actually find to be really, really interesting. This is something that's never really been touched upon in Pokemon before. I guess in the mainline anime with Ash, we see a lot of Officer Jennies, and I don't know about anybody else, but I don't really think they're the most reliable police force in Pokemon. But the International Police actually seems like a really legitimate police operation. We get to see, they assemble like a strike team to go and invade Viridian Gym where they think Giovanni is. And it's so cool to see them have all these different Pokemon working together to essentially infiltrate and break into a building. I mean, we see a Magnemite short circuit like a door. We see Machamp and Growlithe break walls and stuff. It's so cool to see them being used, not for battling, but for like an actual job and career in Pokemon. I don't know, it's just so interesting because we don't really see a ton of that in Pokemon. I also really like, this is kind of taking a step back, the idea of this episode, how it's sort of expanding and giving us more information on the events of Generation 1. Now, I don't know if we can take this episode as canon within like the game's story and world, but if it is, it fills in a lot of the events regarding Generation 1, because one question so many people ask is, why don't the police get involved with stopping Team Rocket? Why does the 10-year-old do this alone? And this episode showed us that the police are there! They're just super slow at their jobs. Red is encountering Team Rocket too fast for him, and we actually see the International Police Force in the Rocket Game Corner. They're kind of busting everybody up that was left there after Red came through. And we even see that when Looker and his police force make it to the gym leader room, that they were just barely late enough that Giovanni had already evacuated the Viridian Gym. There's kind of like, I guess, some ash or rubble or like some burn marks or something on the floor that Looker looks at. And he says, oh, a battle just recently took place. And it's cool because that's the battle that Red, or the player, just went through. And Giovanni escaped just moments prior to their arrival. I mean, Red was there. I just think it's so cool tying all this together, giving us information. We get to see what Looker was up to in the events during Generation 1. I love this episode because it does expand and add on to the Pokemon games without retreading or showing us something that we've already seen before. And I think it's so interesting. And I really hope, kind of, once again, zooming back out to the whole Generations idea of the whole idea of the Generations anime, I really hope we see a lot more episodes like this, where I do hope we see episodes that kind of animate events and cool things from the games. Like, I really hope we see an episode of Gold versus Red. That would be cool. But at the same time, I hope we see more side stories like this, where it's things that did happen in the game that we just didn't know about or we didn't get to see, and kind of expand the Pokemon games canon. I think these are really cool. And maybe I'm fanboying too much over a 5-minute episode. I don't care. I think it's awesome. And I'm really excited and stoked to see what else Generations has in store for us. Should be really cool. Should be really awesome. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the 2 Generations episodes that were released today. Anyways, feel free to give me your thoughts and opinions on them. I'm curious to see what you guys thought about the episodes. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you like certain parts of them? You know, feel free to let me know in the comments section below. I'm always interested to hear what you guys have to say. Other than that, feel free to leave me any feedback on these discussion type videos. I really want to try and do more of them outside of just these sort of Generations discussion, reaction, my thought videos. I have a few ideas for like the black and white anime. I have some for like Mario Party, Smash Brothers, just some other longer discussion things that I feel wouldn't make for mainline videos I want to talk about. So let me know if you like these and would like to see other discussion type videos. Sorry if this was awful to sit through. I'm sure I said the same word like 1,000 times. I'm pretty bad at doing discussion videos, but this is the first one I've felt comfortable with uploading in like months. I've tried to record them before, I've just never felt great about them. Anyways, thanks for watching, you guys, and I will catch you later.